is in you. Follow, listen, let it direct you. Whatever course you decide to take, listen to that inner voice in you. It will never, ever fail you. You just have to learn to rely on it more. And your life will be magical because my life is. Without further ado, I want to present to you my master teacher. He is a phenomenal man. He has a great heart. I'm telling you all that. He is, I call him a man's, I think I shared this one time with you all before. He is a man's man, right? I've talked to some of you brothers. Some of you brothers, I know you want to be like Brother Sharif. And yes, you need to be yourself, but you need to have the fortitude and the spinal fortitude and the mental fortitude to stand firm on your square, stand on, stand on your guns. Just never, don't cower. Do not cower, because the sisters, the women out here, our sisters, we want you to be strong. We want you to be strong like Brother Sharif. If it wasn't for Brother Sharif helping me, I don't know where I'd be right now. I have leaned on him, and he's allowed me to lean on him, and I have gotten so much stronger. It's amazing. But I'm humble, and I'm grateful. And when I go out in the world, the universe opens up and gives me what I want. I happened to be at a place the other day. It was the day before yesterday. I went in there. I had Brother Sharif on the phone, and I told people what I want. They just gave it to me. They said, "Here, no problem." I'm like, I said, "See, this happened again." They didn't charge me. I mean, things like this happen all the time. I don't know what to say to you all, okay? When I tell you all that it's magic, it is. When you're in alignment with each other. I'm not going to keep talking. I just want to bring forward our master teacher, the founder of Thor Radio Network, the founder of the House of Restoration Ministry, and the Consumerian Empire, the Consumerian University, and a whole host of other things that you'll find out on the other side. None other than Brother Sharif. Brother Sharif.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
1 minute. Someone's keying their microphone. Okay, standby for systems. Okay, Steve. Okay, you got that. Someone is keying their mic. Let's get off the test frequency. Let's put it at 30 seconds. That's all. Roger. And 008, hold it steady.
Frequency 2 cameras are on.
The winds are okay, Steve. Westerly at about 10 knots. Coming on. I'm indicating 004. How does that look? Looks good, Steve, and all systems are okay here. The winds are westerly at 10 knots. Okay. This is NASA 1 calling 10 seconds now. 10 seconds, roger. 0, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It looks good at NASA 1. Roger.
BCS arm switch is on.
Okay, Victor.
Landing rocket arm switch is on. Here comes the throttle. Circuit breakers in. We have separation.
Roger.
Inboard and outboard are on. We're coming forward with the side stick.
Looks good.
Roger. I've got a blowout. Neighbor 3.
Get your pitch to 0.
Engine out. I can't hold it altitude. Correction. Alpha 4 is on. Track selected. Emergency. Flight call. I can't hold it. She's breaking up. She's breaking. Steve Austin, astronaut. A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man. Steve Austin will be that man. Better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
Calendars, schedules, IP addresses. You know, like when y'all see that I over the pyramid, you know, that's an IP address. They call it an ipso facto. A whole lot of descriptions lead to one source. You need that one source. You have witnessed that one source transform into something that I'm sure that you will be proud to be a part of. Whether you get a portion of it will depend on your ability to surrender. Surrender what? Surrender what you don't know. And formally request through proper channels permission and be granted permission to use what you don't owe it. You're just going to be borrowing because you feel the library is free. No, I'm going to be shutting a lot of libraries down. It's already being done. I shut a lot of you down because you feel you go to the library, you read a book, you don't know the content. So you come out and start spitting out things that you can't even cover in question or acquisition on the subject. There's a king of those libraries. There's massive content underneath those IP addresses, like you say, share. Like I watched some of you spell share, and you never had permission to spell it. If you're totally in the college thing to where anything around you can like use. I don't know where y'all got that from. You get it from the source. Like the word use is even like a crime. What do you mean? Use. And then y'all get in relations, you're like, he was using it. She was using it. But did you give permission for them to use it? last time I checked, I sounded my name. I didn't tell you to use it. So when you were getting smart, you're asking for the 1692A2. Do I have permission to contact you? And I like to see you learn. To have permission to contact you. Isn't that what we talk about all the time? Because you have consent. Well, what's consent? Well, a lot of you gave up consent. It's right there on your SS5. SS5. Survivor. What did you survive? You didn't survive nothing. You got jobs that don't even belong to you. You don't even know who you work for. Did you read your SS5? Did you read it? Did you read it? I mean, you always talk about statutes and codes. It's right on there on the SS5. I mean, if you went to college, you got a degree, but you didn't read the SS5. Even the women, or the females, or whatever. I came up with a vocab. I'm gonna be vacating and revoking your vocabulary. You're gonna have to learn to walk and talk again. All that talking, I don't have time to do that. Yay or nay? It's like yes or no. See, you're opposites and y'all learn too much. You're learning too much fog in here. Too many different breaths. Just relax. So today is prescription day for all of you that have Medicaid and proper health care. You can consider this your prescription. Now, for some of you that are dead, I won't be prescribing any medicine for you. That 7-year mark, you're still dead. We're going to go ahead and we're going to say a lack of function. The brain stems are not cooperating with each other. Your A2s is just not coming out right. We're just going to have to do an order of cessation that you're not getting. And then you don't want to receive the blood transfusion, and you're denying, which you don't have a right to under SS5, to deny anything when we say give it up. You know, you got these renegades going, well, I'm not going to give you my name. You don't have to. They are registered. You don't have a name. Not a registered name. Why you think the college is like to move? Register to move. Have permission to speak. You have to be a keynote speaker. You have to have a background in grand jury etiquette. Ethics. Because you wouldn't got a temporary library card and Social Security. You gotta pay. It's not free. I mean, y'all gotta understand what free is. There's a definition of free. So the definition, that means there's a cost involved. We said it was free. We didn't say there was no cost. And the cost could be you don't comprehend what you're reading, depending on the fact that you know what reading is. If it's fundamental. So if it's fundamental, that means you have to pay for it one way or the other. And that's where Nubis comes in. We're creating new businesses, new mindsets, new biases, new bios, new identities. And it comes down to where do you want to be? If you had an opportunity to choose a slave master, who would you choose? Winston Sprout or sauerkraut, Tahaki Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, or the Shire Reaper?
Back to my friend, Chauncey Theon.
Okay.
She can share a little bit more. Well, my sister and I, we came together really, I'd say probably last year. Our grandmother, who's our mom's mom, she was in, the hospital. We knew she wasn't going to recover. And it was her dream that we work together. Because my sister and I imagine twins. I don't know if you've ever known any twins in your life. But sometimes twins can be ultra competitive with each other. And that certainly is the case with my twin sister and I. She'll tell you I came out first, but if you ask her who's the oldest, she'll say I'm the oldest because she kicked me out, not because I really was born first. So we from birth we've always had this natural competitiveness with each other. But my grandmother wanted us to use that competitiveness, come together and change the world as opposed to doing it separately. So we definitely tried. We've learned from last year a lot of, the mistakes and how to stay in our lane. And in meeting you, Joseph, it's been life changing to have someone that says, hey, you guys both know a lot. You have your expertise here and you have your expertise here, but you guys are competing with each other instead of coming together. So, we are definitely embarking on that again, to come together, bring both of our talents, our knowledge, our expertise together as a powerful entity to empower others. So, are you still there? Hello, am I on? Joseph? I'm not sure if I'm
Okay,
still
there
on.
I am. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Y'all hear me?
No problem.
Okay, y'all got me?
Yeah, I got you. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear y'all fine. Okay,
Okay,
apologize for that. Now, we're going to get into some discussions today. I sat around and listened to y'all talk, and I got somebody else on the line who wants to join in on the conversation, too. I'm going to let her in. Tamara's on the line, and I'm going to let her come in and chime in a little bit herself. She got her lane that she does. It's all these females I've been around, that are doing all these things and everything. I'm like, wow, there's one in real estate, one in finance, one in insurance. And I was very impressed with everyone's knowledge of what they had. I'm like, we got to be able to do something with this. All this, this is a brain trust that I'm surrounded by. And I want to get into, I think this will be a good way to start off the year and, giving all of our listeners, educating them about different things, because a lot of people don't have, the inside track on certain things like credit. I mean, I was just blown away with the insurance thing that you were telling me about the insurance. Credit, I understand the importance of credit. We live in a credit-based economy and so forth, the importance of having that, of investments and things of that nature. And before we get into this, though, I'm gonna let Tamara chime in a little bit, and I'm gonna let her, tell a little bit about herself as well. Ms. Lee, you on the line?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How you doing, hon?
Hey, Tamar.
I'm doing great. Happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Hey,
Yeah.
I wanted to just a short bio about me. I'm number 8 out of 9 children. My family comes from Chicago, from Chi-Town. And basically, my background is dealing with real estate and finance. And one of the things that my father told me as a little child was you should always own the land that your feet stands on. And if you go back in history, you will understand how important it is to own land, to own real estate. There have been wars fought. There have been continents that have been conquered. And the first thing that conquerors do is they take the land. The land is where the resources are. So when you're talking about generational wealth, when you are talking about assets, to me, the most important asset that any of us can have, which is, and as far as an African community, you will see in our country that has something that has been taken from us because of the relative importance of it. If you study any billionaires or millionaires, you will find out that a large part of their portfolio is real estate. You cannot get away from it. God is not making any more land. It is the most important, one of the most important things that you can have in your coffer to hand down to your children. If you own the roof over your head, if you own the land that you stand your feet on, you can be a producer, which means all of our ancestors, they farmed land for hundreds of years that they never owned. So I say that to say my love of, I started out as a mortgage broker. I was a part of helping people have a piece of the American pie or the American dream, and that's home ownership. And I started out doing that in the 90s. I went from being a loan officer to a mortgage broker. And that was the first time that I put my name on the door, and that was the first time that anyone in my family ever owned a business. And real estate and the mortgage or finance industry, they are my first love. It is, I always go back to what my father told us, always own the land that your feet stand on. So I've been in the industry since the early 90s. One of the ladies mentioned earlier that after we had the crash of 2008, the financial collapse, that changed a lot of things in this country. There was basically generational wealth got wiped out within a matter of 2 to 3 years from the African American communities. It affected everybody, but we suffered the most. So after 2008, I took basically all of my business skills and my financial acumen, and I applied that to other areas of life, and that business finance. So I have an understanding of business structures. I have an understanding of business credit and how everything that we're basically going to talk about today, it all ties in. It's a revolving circle. It touches every aspect of all of our lives, and there's no way you can get around it. And these, I'm hoping that with this mastermind, we can pretty much give you an idea or open a door and open your mind to thinking about ways where you can secure the future for you and your children. So with that being said, I'm just part of the conversation, and I'm here, so.
All right. That's what's up. Okay. All right. Well, I want to start off today. Let's get to it. Let's just jump right into it. I want to talk about, first of all, I was talking about this insurance thing. Now, my co-host, he deals with that. And, there's a lot of people have been talking about insurance, making your own bank. And, I got, and just over the last couple of days, I've kind of gotten a new insight on this insurance and the purpose of insurance, that insurance is not for this life insurance, shall we say. It's not for when you die, but it's for you to utilize when you're alive. Am I correct on that? You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes. So an easy way to understand it is if you think about your auto insurance policy, right? Your auto insurance policy covers what? Your auto. You think about when you're a renter. If you have a renter's insurance policy, it covers the content inside the house as a renter. It doesn't cover the house. If you're a homeowner, you have a homeowner's policy. It covers what? The home. Health insurance covers when you're sick. So I mentioned earlier that one of the greatest wealth components and tax transfer benefits that's within the wealth industry, in my opinion, the number one, is hidden right plainly before our face, because the average person thinks that life insurance is about death, when really the death benefit is just a benefit of the actual contract itself. And so if you think about, if I went to buy a car, I never would buy a car based off the kind of radio that's installed in the car, because you could buy a car and you can put any kind of radio system in it you want. It frustrates me to no end, because our people, we believe that life insurance is really death insurance. It's not about death insurance. It's about the transfer of wealth and a way to accumulate wealth on a compound interest basis, and to avoid on Uncle Sam. See, so when I say it's hitting plainly right before us, because most of us have the experience of life insurance from when our great aunts, our great uncles, mama, big papa had the white man that came and knocked on the door, And, Grandma and them would give us the money. He would write down, we had a little tally of the payment, on a card. And then when our ancestors died, our loved ones died, the policy paid out $2,000-$3,000. Now, granted, back then, $2,000-$3,000 was a lot of money when they first took out those industrial policies. They weren't even regular life insurance. They were industrial policies, and this was just a way for them to collect some more premium from our culture, but we also missed out on the equity of life insurance. And not to get too deep, but I tell you, if anytime that you fill out a loan application, there's a section on that loan application under assets that lists life insurance. And most of us don't have any type of equitable life insurance to list on there because we don't understand that life insurance is about the quality of life that you want to have right now. And insurance, by definition, is providing risk against the loss. So if you can understand what insurance is, any type of loss that you can sustain, that's why you buy insurance, so that if that loss happens, it's really not a loss to you. It's already been taken care of. So if we can understand the concept of life insurance, that it really has nothing to do with death. It's all about planning, first of all, securing your money, being able to make your money three-dimensional, meaning your money can grow for you, right? So if I plant corn seeds, what do I expect to get? A corn harvest. If I plant tomatoes, I plan to get tomatoes. We're the only people that believe that our work equity for money will produce more for us than planting money. Money will produce money faster than we ever could work for it. And therein lies one of the best ways to grow your money without any type of risk, without any type of tax liability when it's done the right way, is in life insurance. But we don't understand that because we're afraid of death.
Wow. So now get into it a little bit more. I don't know about like with, making your insurance like a bank, you're talking about making it into a bank and, all of this,
Sure.
Explain that to the people. I'm going to sit back and I want to listen to you talk about that.
All right. So you have two types of life insurance. You have a term life, which in the easiest way is think about when you're renting a home. You'll never own the home, but you're renting the right to live there. That's what term life insurance is. It has no equity because you're renting coverage for a certain amount of time, and when that time is over, there's nothing left. So term life is by far and large what we're sold. It has no equity. Then you have equitable life insurance, meaning it builds cash value, and as long as premiums are paid, you actually own the contract, okay? So that's what we're going to focus on is equitable life insurance. Now, anytime that you get a life insurance policy, whether it be whole life, universal life, or my favorite, index universal life, you have a contract. First of all, you have a contract. And the contract states that we're covering your life for this amount of money. You're paying premium, and upon your death, this is what a death benefit will pay out. However, within that contract, you have loan provision, you have withdrawal provision, and you also have every contract comes with what's called a side account. Okay, the side account is nothing more than the same thing that a commercial bank has given you when you open up a savings account or a checking account. It's a place where you can put your money. So when you put your money in a bank, you don't get to control what the bank does with that money. That bank is going to take that money. They're going to use that as collateral to issue credit cards, do auto loans to people, mortgage loans. When they get the auto loans and the mortgage loans, they're going to sell that note off, and then they turn a profit. So your average bank will take the money that you deposit in your savings account or your checking account, and they'll flip it 7 ways, very fast. Banks do not hold on to notes. They originate them, and then they sell them to investors that like the long-term payment, okay? So we have the ability to do that within ourselves. One of the best-known books known to man that most people would consider one of the best-known books or one of the best-selling books on the market called the Bible says you're called to be the lender and not the borrower. Okay, we gloss over that thinking, I'm not meant to open up a commercial bank. It's not what it's talking about. It's saying you're supposed to be in control of what happens with your own money. And in life insurance, if you establish an equitable policy with the right company, so there are many life insurance companies out there, you have to be placed with the right company, okay? But when you have that policy and that contract, you also get the privilege of a side account. The side account is where you can overfund it, okay, and you're contributing money over and above what the base cost is to keep the life insurance policy in force, and therefore the life insurance company is going to grow that money for you. Most companies will give you anywhere from a 3% guaranteed interest rate on a compounded basis or more. Okay, so it depends on, again, the company you get with. But as far as to my knowledge, I'm saying 3 because I'm sure there are a few life insurance companies out there. But most of the ones I write for have a 4% guaranteed interest rate, and that's just playing it safe. Okay, if you put it in the safe guaranteed interest account. I don't know anywhere else where you can put your money, grow it on a compound interest basis, and also get the guarantee that you'll never lose a penny of your money. So a stockbroker will tell you, hey, we can get you 8% on average, but what they're talking about is going in the ups and downs, right? We know the stock market is not any type of mystery. The stock market is a roller coaster ride. You know, you're able to buy low and you cash out when it's high. The thing is you got to have a crystal ball to know exactly when to do that, okay? And you also have taxes on your gains. In life insurance, structured the right way, you avoid all of that. You get to grow your money, and through the provision of a loan, we don't pay taxes on our loans. Think about that. We don't pay taxes on our loans. If I go take out a loan on my car, I'm not paying taxes on the money I borrow. So a lot of people get tripped up when they hear, oh, I could borrow against my life insurance policy. That's a mechanism to give you access to your money without having to pay taxes on it, because in that account that you've established with that life insurance company, the loan isn't credit-based, okay? So no one tells you your credit score has to be this. It's your money, but you borrow from the money so that you can get access to the money that was grown on a tax-free basis. Now, when we say loan, we think of loan from the perspective of a car note, a mortgage note, because it comes with an obligation to already repay it. There's no obligation to repay the loan in a life insurance contract. So even though we call it a loan, it's not your traditional loan from a lender, because you are the lender. You could borrow from yourself and you could decide to pay it back or not. So,
and basically it's a contract. That contract, I mean, if you don't pay it back, somebody else is going to pay it back. I mean, from I was understanding what you were saying, because that contract has value.
Well, let me make this clear. So you got the contract, right? That's the life insurance policy,
right,
which means that upon your death, this is going to happen. But again, with that, if it's an equitable policy, it comes with a side account. Think of your side account like a checking account, a savings account, whatever kind of account you want. It's just an account whereby you can grow your money, right? So I want you to start thinking of that side account. It comes with a side account, right? That's why it's equitable. Okay. That's where the equity lies. Most whole life companies pay dividends into that. So if that company has performed well, you know, they have it, you know, the actuaries they've written policies, not a lot of death claims, they have a surplus, they're going to pay out dividends on how well the life insurance company did. That money goes right into your side account. So the side account and the life contract are two separate things, but they're combined together. That's what you get. The side account is where you're able to control your own money. You have your tax liability is protected as long as you keep the life contract in force.
A quick question.
Okay.
So
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So is it almost like non-recourse lending? So if you borrow against that side account. Yeah, that's what, okay. That's what I want to know.
Absolutely, gotcha. Non-recourse. I'm glad you said that. So there are about 11 different benefits that come with establishing your own bank, right? Now let me so banking. We go to a commercial bank, right? We put money. We establish a savings account, checking account. We put money in there. They flip it 7 to 11 ways, but they give us a 0.01% interest. Correct. Okay, and then you got to pay taxes on the little bit that you've grown. Here in this side account, the reason why there's no taxes is because of that life contract, right? So if you look at the 567 tax codes, there's only one that gives you tax protection, probate protection, estate planning, name all of that, and it's a life insurance contract, okay? And that's why I'm saying that life insurance is called life insurance and not death insurance, because it was created so that we can pass on our wealth with and to avoid estate taxes. We can avoid probate court, people fussing about, you know, who gets what, the wife, the ex-wife, the children, the stepchildren. You avoid all of that through a life insurance policy, okay? But you can't put the money in, grow it, and then cancel the life contract, because then if you cancel the life contract, you just took away all your tax provisions, okay? So why I'm saying the life contract has to remain in force, we're getting that so that we get the tax benefits. That's what we want, those tax benefits. So you have what do they call it when you put in a 401k? Your taxes are delayed, postponed. Okay, so you could postpone taxes, right? You could prepay your taxes now, or as you mentioned, Joseph, you could set yourself up in planning it right where you don't owe any tax liability. Okay, that's called tax preference. How you set it up and build your wealth matters, because a lot of people are putting money in a 401k. You're postponing your taxes. Yeah, the money's going to grow better because there's no taxes. However, you're going to have a bigger tax bill at the end. Right,
I have a question. I have a question for you. How does this platform work in conjunction with trust?
So your trust should own the life contract. Ownership of the contract itself, okay, is the person that owns all the benefits within the policy. Okay, so I could have I'm in the middle of finalizing a divorce, right? I have a policy on my husband, right? I own it because he didn't believe in paying the premium, right? So you could own the policy. Matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up. When you work a job, I want people to stop saying I have life insurance when I got a job. You don't own that policy. Your job owns the contract on you, okay? And so when you die, you believe that free amount of insurance that your job is going to give to your family is what that policy is worth. No, that's the benefit part that they're giving you. They own way more on your life as an employer than the amount that they're willing to give you for free. Okay? Exactly. That's why you never get a policy in the mail, because the policy ownership belongs with the job, not you.
Correct.
Okay, real quick. I got some people with their hands up. I think some people want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Let me open up the phone lines. The call-in number, if you're listening on the internet, is 424-222-5250. You're listening to the hottest radio network on the planet, High Frequency Radio. I'm Yusuf L. It is January 1st. Happy New Year's to everyone. Let me open up the phone lines. Area code 843-4853. What is it, South Carolina? You're on the line. Yeah. What's on your mind?
Man, God. Greetings, God. Greetings, Empresses. Man, Yusuf, your antenna.
All right, peace. This is your host, Bezel Bay, a.k.a. For all y'all that know me previously, J-Dog on WTDTA Radio. A lot of stuff going on, man. And again, I want to send a special shout out to everybody who's definitely getting it in where they fit in. 2020 is the year, man. This is the year of perfection. So hopefully everybody can see clearly. Oh, man. Feel blessed to definitely be in you guys' presence. Again, I'm going to do my best to give you some things to definitely hold on to and focus on. So I want you to just understand that here on WTDTA Radio, we do not profess to give legal advice. Each and everything that we actually break down is for educational purposes only. If you actually hear something within this broadcast that you feel you need some more clarity on as far as legal advice, from that standpoint, we ask that you actually seek those individuals that are in that position. But here on WTDTA Radio, we're here to give you educational information only. Because educational information is fundamental. All right, those of you that are in the banking and the box and accounting, you survived December 15th. January 14th and 15th is right around the corner. And I know it's a lot of people saying, like, wow, but it seems like, man, time we get one concept, there's another concept, there's another concept. The fundamentals are the same. The processes are the same. The fundamentals are the same. And what I love about these divas, these sisters that you were just listening to, is that they brought all of us back home to really what it is and what it isn't. And we got to understand that, because, like you say, we perish for the lack of knowledge. So without further ado, I'm going to do my best. I'm not a big fan of being in the public. Everybody already know that. But backed by popular demand, we are bringing in Accounting and Accountability Part 2. From the visual standpoint, I've already done about 4 of the series with this. Those of you that are in our more advanced curriculum, you already know what it is. You understand. Those of you that don't have no clue, I'm just going to say, Jake, take notes and utilize this video while you can. 2 things. I'm not going to leave these videos up forever. I'm going to put them into our private proponent for proprietary reasons. But I feel that this is a good tool for everybody to kind of see, get an idea. You can interact with me. I'm live right here in the chat. So if you are watching this, you can interact and ask your questions on the chat, and I will do my best to respond. But let's go to some documentation. Let's go to some documentation. Some documentation that I think everybody want to know about. All right, so without further ado, let's break it down, shall we? Let's break it down. Let's break it down. Let's break it down. Okay, here we go. How many of you guys are familiar with TT&L? TT&L. TT&L. Well, let me blow this up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because everybody might not know what TT&L is and how it works and all that other good stuff. And, you know, I want to make sure I do everybody some justice here. So I've made it too big. Yeah, too big. Here we go. Let's come back. Give me a second. TT&L. Alright, here we go. TT&L. TT&L stands for Tax Payments, Treasury Tax, and Loans. So the TT&L account deals with taxes, the Treasury, and loans. But let's talk about this Operating Circular number 9. Operating Circular number 9. You can see the table of contents here. Yeah. Pretty interesting read. Now, those of you who have never heard us go over TT&L, I mean, all my guys like Corey. Big ups to Corey, man. Shout out to you, man. Peace and love, man. And definitely, man, peace and love. Your family has definitely been in our prayers, brother. So we are definitely, keeping you up, man. Glad to see you definitely participating today. See, brothers like Corey have been around with us for a while. I mean, a while. He was one of the original students that were in one of our first civics classes when we transitioned into what we're doing right now. So TT&L, you guys know where I'm finna go with this. We got a lot of new guys that they got their bank in the box set up. They kind of got a feel for how this stuff works, but they still trying to figure it out. All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start slow to give everybody the deal. Alright, we're just going to start with the scope. This circular contains the provisions under which the Reserve Banks with an S, as fiscal agents of the United States in accordance with Title 12, that's what 12 stands for, United States Code, subsection 391, and the applicable regulations handled and process federal tax deposits, paper tax deposits, and the electronic tax deposits, paper tax deposits, and electronic tax deposits, and administer the United States Department of Treasury, there's the Treasury tax, and loan program. Each Federal Reserve Bank has issued an operating Circular 9 identical to this one. Now, when we say as fiduciaries that every dollar that you see is loaned into existence, do you understand who's actually doing the lending? Because how many of you guys when we say that are under the impression that the Federal Reserve lends the bank the money. And if you think that, you are correct. But here's the other question. How did the Federal Reserve receive the money? Well, this circular is issued in accordance with Title 12, United States Code, subsection 391, 31 CFR, Part 203, that discusses the payment of federal taxes and Treasury tax and loan program, and 31 CFR Part 380, collateral acceptability and valuation. The processing of deposits of federal taxes and maintenance of the TT&L accounts pursuant to this circular are subject to Parts 203 and 380, as well as other applicable regulations issued by the Treasury. The Treasury Financial Manual for the Treasury Tax and Loan Depository, which is called the TFM, supplements the regulations, and the Treasury may from time to time provide additional forms of guidance. Information pertaining to the TT&L and collateral valuation can be found at the Treasury Bureau of Public Debt's website and the Federal Reserve Bank's Financial Services website. You see it. I'm showing it to you. You see it. I don't need to repeat it. You see it. I'm showing you the screen. Now, send me a message, a text that says, Bezel, I can't see what you're talking about. Because if you can see what I'm talking about, then you know where to go to find this information out. And again, I do want you to understand that this document, in the advanced age of technology, it'll prompt you to the new the new links, because this was already out here. For those of you that's looking for it. How many guys were actually looking for TT&L before today? How many guys knowing that you're doing you're waiting on the 8302 return, you weren't even thinking about a TT&L account? Matter of fact, the TT&L is like new to you right now. Shame on you if it's new to you, because if it's new to you, everything in accounting, you are to assume that everything is a tax, and you are to assume that every transaction is based in a trust. Everything is a trust and everything is a tax. That is what you are to assume. If you're not in this world of the land of the living, like my brother Sharif just said, you're the land of the dead, then we're going to have a different conversation. But again, those of you that are alive, you're dealing with trust, and it's all about taxes. So, now that we got to that point, wait a minute, Bezel, you mean to tell me that the 8302 returns have something to do with the TT&L? Well, of course they do. How do you think this stuff works? Do you think it's just magic? Or do you think there's an ordered structure? There's a structure. And they call you an accredited investor because you're sophisticated, which means you can handle complex applications. So they ain't got to insure you anymore because you understand that you can use this TT&L account to do your transactions. You can use this to do your transactions. Now, let's discuss how. Okay, well, let's go back to the Bureau. How many of you guys understand? Have you ever actually seen the Bureau of Public Debt? How many of you guys knew that the Bureau of Public Debt actually exists? Actually, me and Brother Corey got a funny story about that. It's funny now. It wasn't funny when it happened, but it was funny. It's funny. Which we'll talk about at a later date, but I'll give you the high points. When you know about the Bureau of Public Debt, the public gets very, very nervous. Very, very nervous because the Bureau of Public Debt, they had to actually change its name because it still exists. They just called it something else. That's usually what happened with trust. You can just change the name. So they changed the name. Because I want you to think about it. The Bureau of Public Debt, if you thought about it and you got exposed to this information, you said, wait a minute, there's a bureau that handles public debt. Why am I sitting here crying about I'm finna lose my house and my car and the bill's too high when it's a public debt? And there's a bureau to handle it. I'm just saying. Matter of fact, I'm going to stop saying. Let this marinate for a second. Because I want you to listen. Because if you listen long enough, you'll learn something.
Kind of soft right now, man, because I was saying to you, yo, brother, yell out the word trust, because, man, this is one of the foundational things that you've been speaking on for years, and that's exactly what these sisters are talking about.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I mean, yes, they are in certain ways. You know, a lot of insurance deals with trust and things like that. But yeah, I'm gonna get to my part. I'm gonna get to my part.
I know, brother. I'm letting
man. I'm gonna get to my part. But did you have a question for the sisters?
Yeah. That's so. Speaking to that, greetings, sisters. That has the same thing to do with a bank account. Happy New Year to both of you. How you doing, Lady Catherine? Yeah. When you get a bank account,
are you familiar with this? You familiar with what they're talking about?
It's just that, you know, when you've been around things for a while and you've been hearing conversations, regardless if you apply them or not, you know, what you hear and see is never erased. Okay. So that's why I'm asking the questions that I'm asking. You know, I see how these pieces of the puzzle go together. Okay, so back to my question. Even when you get a bank account, they give you an insurance policy, basically, or who you want your beneficiary to be. But just like what you're saying, they create.
You said it, my brother. You said it. So as I mentioned before, anything that can. So think about it. A bank has its worth in the people that deposit with them, right? So when I first started out as a teller, we didn't make good money from being an hourly employee. You got your money based off of how many checking and savings accounts, how many credit cards, how many loan applications you took. So that's why I became a beast, because it's like, if you're going to come and cash this check, we open up a checking account for you today. Right? So I don't make nothing hourly, but you're going to pay me $20 for you're going to pay me $7 an hour to cash check, or you're going to pay me $20 for checking account I open. I'm open these checking accounts, okay? You don't have a choice, okay? You open up a checking account today, and we're going to get this mug on direct deposit. And as I begin to understand, you're absolutely right. Because the bank has an insurable loss, if we close that account, they just lost a part of their company. If I move all of my money from that bank and put it somewhere else, they just experienced the loss. So as soon as you open up any type of account with a good company as an employer, because they know this, or a bank, the first thing they do is take out a life insurance policy on you, because they are going to experience a loss if they don't have you. So you're absolutely right. That the number one person in the bank is the guy that controls, they call him the life insurance comptroller. That person has to seek out which of these life insurance companies out here is paying the best interest per head for each depositor. That's what his job is. So you're absolutely right. You get they take out a life insurance contract on you as soon as you open up that account.
Awesome. See,
it's all put in trust, obviously. Mm-hmm. You know, that's my area of expertise. I know that's what you're saying. They put it in trust.
Yeah, that's
what definitely. My next question is, so just like you're saying, you have a life insurance policy, right? The beneficiaries of that life insurance policy, they don't have to cash that out. They can just control it, right? And that way, just like you're saying, that tax liability is prolonged or extended also, right?
That's correct. So one of the families, the Vanderbilt family, is masterful at this. He started this in the 1800s, right? Insurance came on the scene at the beginning of the 1800s, and he started this concept of being his own personal banker within the family. So trust is important, because the trust is going to dictate how this money is going to go. And the trust in the Vanderbilt family said that, listen, you all got to come together. You all you could take loans out against this family life bank policy. You're going to invest it, but once a year you guys got to come back and say what you learned. Nobody gets to cash it out. So he has a trust that has specific rules to the family, and that's why the Vanderbilt family, nobody knows exactly what their bank worth, their personal life bank is worth. It's estimated to be at least $1 trillion to $100 trillion because they've had it for so long. But check this out: you don't report on your taxes what the life insurance value of your policies are worth. So the IRS doesn't have any idea what's going on inside of your bank account with your life policy. You don't have to pay if it's still being honored against those IRS codes, and nobody's violating that. And the only way to violate it is to allow the life contract to do what? To expire by not paying the premiums. And the premiums are minimal because you're going to pay premiums no matter what. If you have a checking account, they got fees. Everybody has fees. So, but the life insurance contract is minimal, which is why we should start these when our children are first born, because life insurance is never going to get as less expensive as before you turn 1 year old. That's at least expensive as it's ever going to get. So that's why white people are as soon as their kids are born, sometimes in a hospital. The baby has to be sometimes at least 12 or 14 days old, but they're establishing those life contracts on their children, because it's equitable and it will never get as least expensive as it is at that moment.
Wow. Hey, look, I got somebody else. Thank you, my brother. That was it for your questions, right?
Yeah, you better take me up, bro, because every time they share some information, man, it's another
I'm going to bring
question.
you back
Listen,
in.
man.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring you back in. I gotta bring somebody in real quick, but I'll bring you back in. I got you marked and everything. I hit
Peace
you back.
God.
Let me bring... Peace, God. Let me bring in somebody else who's an expert on this. I just kind of want to hear y'all chop it up a little bit. This is Sot El. He's another host on High Frequency Radio. He has the show The Foundation, and I'm sure you want to, chime in on this conversation. Peace to the gods. What's up, bro?
Peace, big brother Yusuf, man. How you doing, man? What's going on, man?
I'm all right, man.
Hey,
Trying to start the new year off right, and share some information with the people. What's going on?
I see that. Peace to the sisters, the queens on the line. Peace, sister.
Peace to you, my king. Peace.
Dropping knowledge. Yes. I'm So L. I'm the host of the Foundation here on High Frequency Radio Network. I want to say peace to everybody. But the sister dropping knowledge. I just wanted to add. The sister asked about trust. Yes. And then you said that the owner of the policy is the trust. Yes. I just wanted to step on some toes because I like, pancake and toes, and not y'all toes, it's other people out here. When it comes to the owner of the policy, it's the trust. 9 times out of 10, it's the family trust. But the beneficiary is the trust as well. And I'm going to tell you why. This is a reunification principle with the family. My heirs ain't going to get their little piece of the pie and then run off wherever they want to go in the world and do their dance. No, the beneficiary of the life insurance policies is the family trust itself as well. So that way they have to succeed my trusteeship and be successor trustees and work together as a board, which reunifies the family to get access to that money.
Exactly.
Now, family, check this out. I know the TT and them might have struck some folks. They're sitting there like, wow, where's that document? Where can I get that document? I'm going to say it like this. Hold on. Just keep your shirt on. If you're CECL compliant, then you're supposed to already know that everything is to assume to be in a trust, and every transaction that you deal with is dealing with the tax. And in trusteeship, you're either dealing with the proponent that creates the revenue to pay the tax, or you are part of the construct that collects the taxes that the revenue substantiates. So in commerce, you're expected to be an expert. That's why entities that deal with the individuals in the public, they have to insure those transactions. That's why insurance is so important. That's why everything that you deal with, you don't even realize how many things you're dealing with that are insuring their liabilities against your use. When you actually acquire a loan, they may say something like, just in case something happens and you're in the middle of the loan, this, that, and the other, who would you like to list as a beneficiary? You don't think nothing of it. It's like, okay, well, name my wife, name my son, my mom, this, that, and the other. Let me explain this to you. Just like I don't want to hear no one else in our circle talk about, I got insurance on my job. Let me explain this to you. What you got on your job is a mere fragment. It's microscopic. It's microscopic in comparison to what the actual company has insured against your liability. Matter of fact, let me show you something. The master custodian agreement that makes up that policy, your family never sees because your family doesn't own the policy. The company owns the policy. It's called a company-owned policy. It's called a COLA, company-owned life insurance. You got COLI, corporate-owned life insurance. You got BOLI, which is bank-owned life insurance. Then you have TOLI, which is trust-owned life insurance. And in order for you to move into this private banking zone, you are going to have to do the dance. And you got to study to show thyself approved. And it's not what you say, it's what you do when it comes that determines who you are. And you got to know that you know that you know that you know that everything is a trust and everything is a tax. You got to know that, because your conversations or your questions get short-stopped because you can't see what already is in existence because you're thinking you know it all. Remember, you think Federal Reserve notes is money, right? Now, when we go back to this open circular, what's the open circular that deals with currency transaction reports? That's operating circular 10. Oh, so there's an operating circular 9 that talks about the TT&L. I'm going to stop because this might get a little dicey, like really, really dicey, but I'm trying to give it to you where you can handle it. If 9 is about TT&L and 10 is about currency transactions, then you might need to figure out exactly what all these other operating circulars are, because they're called operating circulars for a reason, which means if you're operating in commerce, you're supposed to know this stuff. Bezel, what's the process? Who are you in this transaction? All we can talk about is accounting because that's all it is. If they have changed the accounting standard, they are rebasing the value, and you get to play a part in if the government is going to rebase their value, what are you supposed to be doing in your structure? You're going to be rebasing your value. Oh, we took some losses, we really didn't make any money. I could explain 50 million ways a Sunday why no one has ever been paid if they haven't received gold and silver. And guess what? No one can tell you that you haven't, because they cannot regulate that proponent. But they can regulate what they control, and they control the Federal Reserve game. Why? Because of these operating circulars. You are creating the money that they are using, and you are not substantiating it on your accounting. And you're wondering, where is the money going? How is it that you can create money for them and can't create something for yourself? I tell you why. You trust them more than you trust yourself and your brothers and sisters. And these rules are simply designed to keep everybody on the square. Now, I'm gonna just look and see if we got any questions before I go any further. I'm just gonna look. I'm giving everybody a chance to ask some questions in the chat. In the chat, if you got any question, please ask them. Please type them out. Please let a brother know what's up and what's happening. If you don't put the question in here, then I don't know exactly what's on your mind. I'm not a mind reader. And so I'm going to go into a series of things in this next proponent. And again, this is a video that you may be able to pause and go back to. I'm going to tell you, don't get comfortable with it. Don't think it's going to be there forever, because it's not. I've learned the hard way that I have to move things around to stay protected. It's nothing against anyone here. It's just that that's just the way it is. Anyway, accounting and accountability. If you have a question, please ask the question. Big ups to Hitman Music Worldwide. We got my man Ron Henderson, Lawrence Young. I think we got Urban Asset Protection on. You guys, if you got any questions, because don't wait until later on, because see, it's an ebb and flow of what I'm giving you right now. And what I mean by that is, there is a reason why I'm going in a certain specific order with this information. And I can only interpret what everyone wants to do or how they're looking at things from how they respond. When you say, well, Bezel, we got it, I assume you got it. I assume everybody knew that the TT&L accountants was actually the method behind the 8302 return. Gosh, all we've been talking about is accounting. If you're a trustee in my book, you are actually a tax collector. I kind of assume that. So I really, post your question. Speaks now, forever hold your peace. All right. I'm looking. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm assuming that everybody's ready for this next episode. So if you're ready for the next episode, then without further ado, you got to understand that you're not in Kansas anymore. So let's go back to these TT&L accounts. And this is going to get real interesting. Because, see, here's what the tax treasury loan account is. It is a record of transactions on the books of a TT&L depository. Let me stop right there. Bezel, what is a depository? You remember I told you I want you to break your trust down into what? A depository and a non-depository? Oh, right. A treasury tax and loan account is a record of transactions on the books of a TT&L depository, reflecting paper tax deposits received by the depository. Settlement for the TT&L transactions is made upon receipt of the advice of credit information by the NCSA. Bezel, what's the NCSA? Okay, let's discuss that, because you might not know what that agency is. Might not know what that agency is, so you'll need some clarity. So you need to know what the NCSA is. Let's go here. Let's see. Now I'm going to do this a certain type way, because I want to not put you guys in a whole different proponent. Give me a second, because I'm going to give this to you the right way. I want to get this to you the right way. National Customer Service Area. See, NCSA is the National Customer Service Area. And they work with the TT&L, with the Internal Revenue and the Department of Treasury. They have a toll-free number. Boy, this is going to be dicey. If I get this number, everybody's going to be calling, but that means you don't need to call them if you're not in compliance with CECL. Let me first say that. You don't need to call them if you don't understand. If you don't understand accounting, do not call this number. I'm going to tell you why. The National Customer Service Area is like the database for creditors. Now, if you're an enrolled agent, yeah, you need to call them. Matter of fact, if you are an enrolled agent with a CAF number, you must call them when you do a CTR. Y'all kind of see how I said that? In other words, if you are ready to rock and roll and get this party started and you got everything, and you know, a lot of you guys are going to have to actually go out here, do what you need to do as best you can, fail, get up, dust yourself off, and try it again, because it's the experience that's going to teach you. I can't pour into your head how to do it and not make a mistake, because I never done it without any mistakes. I made mistakes. I'm going to tell you what's ironic. Most mistakes I made had nothing to do with me, but my perception of what was happening, because I'm trying to do it in a different space. See, I had to totally abandon what works for me. And I had to simply just present the information, unadulterated. And I had to let the client and customer figure out, well, how does that apply to me? You have to make it apply to you. Because if it's not a part of what you need to do, this information is great up until you don't use it. It's like putting a bicycle together, and you look at the box, it's like, okay, I don't need any stinking instructions to figure out how this works. And when you put the bike together, you got extra screws, the wheel looks a little wobbly, the pedal fall off, and you say there's something wrong with the bike. Duh. There's not supposed to be extra parts. Did you read the instructions? No. So let me get this right. Alright, what's the problem? Can you not read the instructions? Yeah. But I need you to fix it. Okay. This is how we gonna fix it. Go get those instructions, go get them, and let's go do it. Oh. What part of instructions? You don't get away from not following directions and following instructions. I'm going to show you something in commerce that if you just practice this will help you out. No more in 2020 you're going to do anything in commerce without substantiating it first. Because I guarantee you, if you didn't substantiate it, you probably are on the wrong side of that equation. And every question about lack of is coming from your lack of substantiating. Lack of substantiation. If you substantiate, there's not a lack. There's abundance. Unless you just don't like yourself and don't like to create. Look, how is it that you can create all this wealth for everybody else and not create it for yourself? How is it that you believe and have faith in what they do versus what you can do? Oh, I get it. You ain't never had to be responsible. Well, here's the rule. In commerce, you are the most liable and responsible person in that transaction. So use that. Stop being a victim. See, this National Customer Service Area number is what you ultimately use to report credit. Oh, did I say that? Maybe I need to edit that out of the You too. Let me keep going. I done said enough. I might have said too much. I'm just saying. I hope you guys are paying attention. I hope you're paying attention. Because if you listen long enough, you're definitely going to learn something. You're going to learn something. Keep listening. We're not done yet. We're just getting warmed up. Just getting warmed up.
And that's what we do. I want to say that. And then number two, y'all. Number two, because she's spitting real game. And she's putting y'all on game. And she's saying it in a way that's different than the way I say it. So I love this. Number two, the family trust offers loans at nice interest, like she was saying, your own bank. But, repayments on loans is non-taxable.
Correct.
It's an expense. Interest is deductible on loans. It's an expense.
Correct.
Do not make loans to individuals. Do not make loans to beneficiaries. Do not make loans to the trustees. Do not make the loans to your business trust.
Come on,
and
brother.
your family
Come on
trust,
with it.
your family trust will receive the repayments on the loan, and then the family trust repays the loan. So you might have possibly, I don't know, two entities expensing the same loan and the same interest. Now, if you put the life insurance policy in a foundation, a private family foundation that is tax exempt, 501c3.
Tax exempt, exactly.
The donations is donations from the family trust to the foundation or charitable deductions. The loans go to the business trust. Repayments come from the business trust. These are also deductions as well.
And this is the biggest trick that's ever been perpetrated on mankind, if you will, in regards to a shadow government was set up, a shadow government. And I believe the intent of that government was in place prior to 1776. There is all indication that Great Britain instituted the establishment of 1776, the Declaration of Independence, in order to put in place the shadow government. So all indications are there. What we're suffering from today, which is corporations and banksters and merchants running our government, is like a dictatorship. When you're living in a government of corruption, it's very difficult to actually see how bad it really is, because they have what they call privileges and benefits. Some do well and most do not. Some pay taxes and most pay more taxes. So it's like a slave a system. It's what we're in. And if you can't feel it, then my type of presentation should not interest you. If you believe that everything is in order and that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, all those slogans and sayings that they put out on television and in records and music and stuff like that, well, you're really being bamboozled. That's the only way I can put it. You're being bamboozled. You really don't know what's going on. So it'd be best if you just step out of this, because you're not ready to move up to a higher, a true, as they would say, a de jure government. You've been living in a de facto government. So let's get started and go back to 1776 and come forward. Now, Bev, I would like for any questions that you get, or any chat room questions, let's get to them right away, because we can learn more by discussing issues rather than me giving straight presentations on issues. Okay? So if you get any calls or anything like that, let's stop and go into it. There's also a second part of our show today that we will probably get to, and that's, I can mention it now, because finance is the biggest problem that Americans have today. Finance. And the debt is rising so fast that we are suffering trying to pay the debt and don't really know why we owe the debt. It's ironic that nobody's really asking the question, how do we owe so much money? What's going on with this government that there's so much debt? Well, it all started probably in 1680, 1660, or let's go back to 1663, which was the signing of the proclamation line by King George III, which stated that all Europeans, frontiersmen, pioneers are not allowed to cross the Allegheny Mountains. And you know the Allegheny Mountains run all the way from Nova Scotia area all the way down through the Carolinas. And that whole region of mountains, they were not allowed, and they have never repealed that. The corporation government has made statements that they're doing certain things, but they don't have any justice to do anything. Turn it up. Yeah, they don't have any justice to do anything because they're not a bona fide government. You know. So if we go back to 1663 and come forward, it was put in place that there would be a plantation set up in the United States. This continent would be taken over, invaded by Europeans, supported by the government of Great Britain, which its founding government was in the New York area. In the beginning, was in the New York area. And they were pushed out, and all flags were removed from the United States in the wars of 1812. And England, or the British, the Europeans, moved to the island of England that's out there today. And it's important for you to know that England is a rock. All it is a rock, the top of a mountain. There's nothing there. There's no resources, nothing. But yet England runs, all your history talks about England. So that's a question that you should be asking. How did they have so much power when they had no resources? They had no way of affording the wars and what they did, the way they moved around. Well, they set up this government in the United States known as United States of America. And they did it in they coincided that government with a original government known as the Continental Congress, or, if you will, the United States. Now that sounds complicated, but if you've got a piece of paper, just write it down. Take a look at it. We're talking about one segment being the Continental Congress, the United States. Then we're talking about a second section known as United States of America. There were several presidents in this United States Continental Congress way before the Europeans showed up. Yes?
Right. Okay,
yes.
Now this Continental Congress, were these the so-called Indians, as they call, us, the Moors?
Yes.
Okay.
The United States was ran by Moors all the way up to 1859, 1860.
All right, I told you, I hope y'all ready now. I'm not going to play with you. This is just a reminder of how deep we are in civics. Because law and history go together. Let me show you just some reminders of this. All right, you're actually staring at what they call the United States flag. Matter of fact, one of these is the actual nation's flag, and one is actually a commercial banner. Can you tell which one is the flag and which one is the banner? If you think the one at the top is the United States flag, and the one at the bottom is something you've never seen before. Well, truth is stranger than fiction, just like you heard from Brother Ron. Because actually the one at the top is a commercial banner. That's why it's called the United States. It's the American banner. And the actual true nation's flag is the one that's on the bottom of it. That red flag with the green star. How many of you guys remember the saying that George Washington chopped down the cherry tree? Well, he chopped down the cherry tree of the Moors. That's what he chopped down, that flag down there. So anyway, let's go on, because let me just confirm what Brother Ron is talking about. You see this right here? All you guys are familiar with what they call the UCC statement. But look at the very top of that document. It's like a banner that's at the top of it, right above the word UCC financing statement. I want you to pay attention to that. And then check this out. This right here is what we call the two-row Jawanta peace tree. It's a Wampa belt. This shows the correlation that the counties came before the states. This shows that way before the English settlers came here, they had already been recognized. Matter of fact, this is why they can still do commerce now, because it was our counterparts, which they call the Indians, which are nothing more than Moors, to put all this stuff in motion. And that's your smoking gun that you're already supposed to know. So keep listening, family, because when we talk about the TT&L, the tax, treasury, and loan account, you're going to understand what you should already understand. Keep listening, because if you listen long enough, you just might learn something.
And that's when they begin to politically start what we know as the Civil War. And that was another man-made, I'll go back to earlier, but I want to say when they declared war in 1861, the Moors, Lincoln was a Moor. The Moors ran everything. The government was controlled by Moors. And those Moors were not black totally. There were mulattoes, there were miscegenation, a lot of marriages, white, black, a lot of things went on. But those that had melanin in their skin, they were known as Moors. After 1776 and after the walkout of Congress, United States government, that's when all of the devilment began to start. Okay, so let's hold on to that thought for a minute and go back to 1776 and those areas back there. England was very powerful. They had the Iroquois Confederation, which was a multitude of let's call them Native Americans who had tribes. We lived as tribes in tribal governments in those days. It was a tribal government. The Continental Congress was only held on 1-year terms, and they only went in session once in 1 year. If something dangerous or interesting come up, they may have met more than once. But basically, it was set up just for one session and a 1-year term for the presidents and congresspersons. And you must keep in mind that there was peace in this land. Peace in this land prior to the coming of the Europeans. When Columbus came in 1492, did they forgive you? When they came in, they thought they were actually in heaven because everything was so peaceful. Everyone loved each other. There was honor among the people. But once the European got here and began to mix and began to steal and rape and loot, and you know the stories of Cortez and Ponce de Leon, all of those so-called invaders that came into the country, they came in for the purpose of ripping off the country. Once the word got back that people lived here, the Pope stepped in and gave a sanction for all those that came this way. If they did not believe in Catholicism, you had a right to kill them. And Montezuma, they got some good movies that give you that type of history. You really didn't know what you were looking at. But there was a good one, Montezuma, I can't think of the full name of it, but Montezuma was a king down in the Caribbean area that had plenty of gold. And those Cortez and those people came in and killed and looted, took everything. So if we move forward as we begin to progress into this new quote-unquote de facto government known as United States of America, after the Civil War was started, they came in with all of their money, bought off all of the politicians that they possibly could. They shut down the government by having their paid politicians walk out of Congress and shut it down completely. And they call it a SINEDIE. I can't pronounce it. But it means that it was shut down without a date for it to return. And every congressional Congress since 1861 has been de facto, fictitious. It never existed. It can't go down in history because it never existed. So the new government that they built, this damn thing called United States of America, is what they put in its place. And then they begin to make everyone, especially the aliens, or let's call them the natives of this country, they had to go to school. And it was important for the natives to go to school because, and they had set up what we got today is known as public schools today, which is free, quote unquote. But they had to put you in school to teach you a new form of government and make you forget the old form of government. Mm-hmm. So it was a hell of a plan. Just like today, it's difficult for any family today to have a family reunion. If you ever tried it or ever went to one, the organizers all complain that they do not get cooperation from the family to do these things. And the reason for that is that the government does not want family reunions because they don't want the secrets of their devilment to be told orally, to pass down from time to time. Most of us don't even know our grandparents. We never go see our grandparents. Or some that are fortunate to have great-grandparents, they never go and listen to the stories they tell as to what really happened in the late 18 and early 1900s. So we're suffering today from the same process that was put in place in 1861. And now we fight each other. Go ahead, yes.
So let me see if I understand. So in 1861, they came and they shut down the government that was already here.
Yes.
Well, but they came over in
yeah, real early.
No, the corporation started before then. It started in 1663, correct?
Yes. The corporation was already started, but it had not come into the United States, into this continent. It was started with the Rothschilds up in New York area today, which is known as England or Great Britain. So you got to visualize that all countries started in the United States. In this hemisphere, all countries started over here. And this country, by having a constitution, is the only country on earth that has a constitution. Other countries have charters, they have treaties, they have agreements to function, but none have a constitution, quote unquote, contract to do their development, to do their work. We as Black Americans are the only ones that gave that contract to the Europeans, and all of it was done by mankind, if you will. It was man-made. All of this we're suffering from was put in place way before it happened. Because if you look at this U.S. versus USA, you'll see where the corporations never started until 1871, whereas we were all in place with the contract in 1776. That's almost 100 years prior to the founding of the corporation. You follow me there?
Yeah.
United States of America was incorporated in 1871. You can look that up. I'm looking at it right now. It says, starting with the Gettysburg Address in 1864, and the incorporation of the District of Columbia by Presidential Legislation Act of February 21, 1871, under the Emergency War Act and the Reconstruction Acts. You dig it? So what they did, since the country did not have a government, they set up this new process under the Emergency War Act, or better yet, the Emergency War Powers Act. And that's why all your life, Bev, and all of your listeners and viewers' lives, they've always lived under a war act. May it be war on drugs, war on poverty, war on World War I, World War II. All of these wars have all came through our lifetime and before, because they cannot function unless it comes from the Emergency War Powers Act.
All right, family, let me bring you up to speed. The War Powers Act work in conjunction with what they call the Trading with the Enemy Act. The Trading with the Enemy Act came into existence in 1917 as the new founded structure, some 3, maybe 4 years after 1913 when the Federal Reserve Act came into play. So the War Powers Act was in play before the Trading with the Enemy Act. And just like Brother Ron is saying, all this stuff has everything to do with taxes, the Treasury, and loans. The TT&L account, for those that have been in civics, you guys learned about 5, 6 years ago exactly how this stuff ties in. So the new Moors, the new trustees that are actually getting their feet wet, they got to be reminded of this information so they know how to properly stand on the square with their infrastructure, especially with dealing with banking in the box. This is a global phenomenon because we are here. You notice what Brother Ron has just gave you. I'm going to reiterate. They switched places with you, paraded the Constitution, brought everyone else under this umbrella, but the counties came first. See, in nation status, this is where the treaties have structure, but when you got to do from nations to tribes, you're under someone. And so the Joanta-Turo Treaty supersedes your tribal status. But you got to operate as a what? A true creditor. You got to operate under notarial law. Notaries, you got to practice civil law. You got to be a civil law notary, practicing notarial law. See, the notarial law now gives you the ability to have proper standings in that treaty status. See, those men that came before George Washington were all civil law notaries. And this history has been buried. And what they built on top of it is what's ruling the ruling classes of today. Because you forgot who you were. The compass and the square. There's a reason why in every aspect of masonry there is one symbol they could not remove from its structure, and that is the G. But for those that don't know the secret within the secret, if you can tell another brother what the G truly stands for, then you understand where you are in these type of transactions. This is why different politicians all are part of the club. Even the politicians who profess to be Christians, they all got a Quran. And they greet themselves as-salamu alaykum. It's no secret. So you need to really understand how these things go. Because when you are, I tell folks, do not be amazed at those that are in a position of authority, because they only may be there by default. You got to take your rightful place. You got to know what you know that you know. See, civics, they had to reteach and rebrand history, because left unscathed, unadulterated, you would figure it out, because they couldn't tell the story without this. So when the War Powers Act, the Trading with the Enemy Act, and all these other things came into play, they began the reconstruction of that history. And see, law and history go together. They're not taught in the public separately. And again, they got to be taught publicly separately, because it's teaching together openly creates speculation, and then it also creates a liability. That's why, those that took the oath of office are guilty of treason if they reveal the true aspect of the Don. So you can't force these individuals who have taken, oaths of silence and, not only penalty of perjury, but, with their lives, they can't reveal the Don. That's what got Martin Luther King in trouble. He was a 33 and a third Mason. He started stepping on the Don. He started talking about he been to the mountaintop. And he's seen the promised land. And you can't go talking about the Don and not be dealt with. The dawn of the new age. Keep listening, because if you listen long enough, you're definitely going to learn something. But as you learn, I want you to understand that the TT and L, this is why what if I told you the banks are not even supposed to be on our shores without a TT and L? And because you're not doing your part, that's how they're getting away with it. Now, matter of fact, before I go there, I'm going to just jump into it, because I want to make sure everybody's good. All right, the TT&L account. Here we go. I've already given you the history on the TT&L. The TT&L is a record of transactions on the books of the TT&L depository, reflecting paper deposits, paper tax deposits received by the depository, and settlements for the TT&L transactions made upon receipt of the advice of credit information by the NCSA through the depository Federal Reserve account, or, if approved, that of or its designated correspondent. Here's the designation of the TT&L depository, establishment of the TT&L account. Number 4, here's the general rule. A financial institution may process electronic tax deposits without being designated, being a designated TT&L depository. To be eligible to process paper tax deposits as well as electronic tax deposits, the participants in the TT&L program as a collector, that means your collector of taxes, retainer, or investor depository, a financial institution must be designated by a reserve bank as a TT&L depository. All designations are made by the NCSA, that's that area, that's that toll-free number, which is the office that manages the depository's TT&L program. Participation. Keep a record, that is an account, of the TT&L depositories, tips, which is the main account balance, SDI account balances, and term investment options account balances, and monitors collateral pledged under the Treasury program. Applications for the designations. In order to qualify as a TT&L depository, a financial institution must meet the requirements set forth in 31 CFR Part 203, file a FMS Form 458, and Appendix A with the NCSA, file a FMS Form 459, resolution authorizing financial institution with the TT&L, Appendix B with the NCSA, submit the NCSA a copy of the excerpts of the Board of Directors minutes that reflect the authorization to be a TT&L depository, and if electing if electing to participate as a retainer or investor depository, have the authority to maintain a tip main account balance which is payable to the Treasury on demand without previous notice of withdrawal. If electing to participate as a term depository, have the authority to maintain a term investment option account balance. I'm going to stop there because if you are what? CISA compliant, you're able to do that. Trustees, I'm simply saying check with your local institution for the TT&L account. Because if they don't presently have one, that's a new service you can offer in your banking-in-the-box structure. Why? Because of this next bit of information I'm about to share with you. Now we're going to fast forward to a part of this that talks about the EFTPS. The EFTPS. Say it with me. The EFTPS. See, let me give you the short version. The ETPS, actually, you can take your present account and convert it to a TT&L in order for you to be a fiduciary. Remember, you just read, you don't necessarily have to jump through all those hoops to participate. Hint, hint, trustees, if you understand that you're being compliant and you're not creating debt derivatives, then you want to do that because you're collecting tax payments. Collecting tax payments. Collecting tax payments. I said if you listen long enough, you'll learn something. I said if you listen long enough, you'll learn something. Listen to my big brother. He gonna break it down to you. Keep listening. Keep listening. Keep listening. Because if you listen long enough, you're definitely gonna learn something. You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn.
Yes. Now, what's that emergency war? Say again.
In 1861 until 1871, the government was shut down.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so they was not living under no government rule. And
correct.
Then in 1871, they incorporated, and that's when they incorporated the United States of America.
Yes. But all of that period that you mentioned, those 9 or 10 years, a lot of things went on. Okay? And up to and including the end of Civil War, which was declared in 1864. So you still had 6 years prior to the incorporation. You also had what they call the the Naturalization Act. Immigration Naturalization Act of 1870. Now that one was very important because they were establishing white supremacy. They passed an act in Congress that said all Europeans would be known as white persons. Peckerwood, white person.
Okay, so...
And that's on the book.
Okay.
That's on the books. That ain't me saying it. That's what they said. And they even gave the eastern area of Africa, they said that of African descent, could also be known as white persons. Now, you brought up a new point, or I brought up a new point, in that persons are people that come from another area into a place where people, we the people, we're here all the time. That's important. White persons cannot be people. They're not white people. They're white persons. We are ignorantly let them get by with white people. No, white persons. Because you give them a sovereignty when you say white people. They don't live here. They belong in another land somewhere else. They don't belong here. Because all you got to do is ask them. They'll tell you in a heartbeat, I'm German, my daddy was Irish, that type of language. But why don't you take your butt back where they come from? That's the question. Get out of here. But now with us being so ignorant as to who we are, and so much cooperation from our Uncle Remus agents, these black preachers, these black boulets, all of these agents that are under the federal government's control, with them talking and teaching, we get lost in the shuffle. As a mass of people, we just get lost. We don't know who we are. And it's so bad today, most of us don't even care. That's how bad it is. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, was that good enough answer? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in that 9-10 years, they was getting this corporation together.
Yes, ma'am.
Putting things in place. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now let's not forget Reconstruction. Reconstruction started in 1865 and it went all the way to 1875. And what they did during Reconstruction was change the history. They took the word Moors out of the language and the books and put Negro in. Because during the Moors regime, white persons were known as Negroes. That's a whole different story. The word Negro comes from Europeans. Slaves come from Europeans, from Slavics. We had nothing to do with that. We had work contracts. We lived on different lands or different ownerships, if you want to call them plantations. We did all that. But when the European got a hold to it and was building this dynasty of this de jure government known as, not de jure, de facto government known as United States of America, he had to hide his devilment. So he took what they call the Reconstruction era to change all of the books, all of the pictures, those that were black. They made them white. They put white faces in black places. Remember I told you, the original George Washington was a black man. But they used a white face known as Adam Wassenhoff, a founder of the Illuminati. That's something that everybody can look up. His name was Adam Wassenhoff. Don't ask me how to spell it. Kick it out there the best way you can. And what he did, he used the Illuminati to create this thing called United States of America and make us believe that we were living in our original Constitution, which we are not.
So it's true Constitution.
Yes. When they founded the corporation, they had to create their own constitution. They called their constitution democracy. And I'll ask you now, what is democracy? Everybody talking about we're in a democratic government. No, we're not. We're in a democracy. And democracy means he who has the big stick rules. Period. But we come from what is known as a republic government. Not the Republican Party, a Republican government, where your creator was your God, or your creator was your government. That's why there was so much peace, because everybody lived under the creation of their creator. But once this new government was set up, you have to go through your government. You got to go through the preacher, the judge, the police department, the United States government, Supreme Court, all of those of entities you got to go through before you can get to your God, and you never make it because you'll be in prison before you get there. Same way they set up Christianity, that they had to go through Jesus to get to God. I've always asked, why can't we go straight to God? Nobody had given me anything. So I dumped them. So we don't have to go there tonight. But that's a subject that a lot of people should ask that question. Okay? I feel you thinking, man. You there? Okay. So, a corporation with the legislation was established with all of the apparatus of a district government, a distinct government, created, quotation, incorporated by Presidential Act. Now, you can look up the Presidential Legislative Act of February 21, 1871. The 41st Congress, Section 3, Chapter 62, page 419. Now, that's a lie, because once they shut the government down, there was not a 41st Congress. There has never been a 41st colony. They make you think there was. I don't know what number we're in today, but none of them means anything because it was shut down and never reconvened in 1861. And why the war broke out. And all of it was by design. The Powhatan nation of Moors fought with the Iroquois nation of Moors. Iroquois nation of Moors were backed by the European British, the white British. They backed in the banksters all come out of England. That's how they took over. That's why they set it up. Because England itself is nothing but, and I hate to call it an island, it's a rock. Just like Japan is a rock. Nobody questions that. They don't have resources. They don't have gold, oil, diamonds, and all that kind of stuff. Nothing's there but a rock. They're lucky to plant flowers, especially in England. They probably have to import dirt just to plant rocks. Flowers.
So they have other people's resources.
Yes.
Them and the Pope.
Yes. The Pope's the top dog. England is the administrator, and the United States, all of America is the plantation where all the resources come from. All the monies that we pay, all these taxes we pay, goes to the king and queen of England. That's why they're so rich. Yeah. Well, nobody asks those questions. They don't even bring that type of conversation up. They never even talk about how does a country that's a rock, how do they have an army? How do they feed themselves? Where does it come from? They don't say because everything is imported in there. Whatever they need is imported, especially the money. Okay? So, if you're looking at this diagram that I gave you, when you talk about the republic, it's only compared to a corporation, which is not the same thing. A republic having its beginning with the colonial resistance against England's government, the English government. England has always been a thorn in the side in this nation. The king of England, King George III, he's always been a prick. Let's call it that, a prick. No one liked him. But he was so powerful that they had to adhere to his, beck and call. And so when they began to, another thing too there, when they did the Reconstruction era, when they were changing the history and putting themselves in and taking the black man out, they definitely had to protect England of all the dirt that England was doing. They had to be sure to get that away from the books so that it would never be told that what they did to take this country. That's why it's so difficult for us as blacks to find our history, because it was so much devilment between them that it's almost difficult. So our archives come from our oral history. Our history is oral. That's why they had to figure out a way to get the man out of the house. And since every listener and viewer had been here, the main purpose of the government, or one of the purposes of the government, was to split up the black family. And they're doing a damn good job. And nobody questions it. Say again?
Yeah, because we don't know. A lot of us don't know. So, in the 1400s, when Christopher Columbus first came over here, that was under the rule of King George III?
Yes.
Okay.
But he didn't come under the jurisdiction of King George. He came under the jurisdiction of the Pope. But the Spanish queen financed him to come over so that the Spaniards could give their homage to the Pope or whatever. I haven't studied that history. But Spain sponsored Columbus. And once he discovered that there was gold, all hell broke loose. And if you recall, especially when I went to school, they said Christopher Columbus was the biggest idiot that ever got on a boat. Because all of his records and his logs, all they talked about was storms. So if you're a good captain, your main factor is to stay away from storms. And then when he began to write, when he got to the lands of the Caribbean, when he ran into those tribes, the Caribs and the Ramos, I guess they call them, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. So he took some back to show the Queen of Spain that he wasn't lying when he said these people are from God. They're so pure. They don't have any negativity in them. But once those Europeans got through with them, Lord help them. And we've been on the downside ever since that European come in. Yes. Now, okay, the major opposition.
That's why, wait a minute. So when they first came over here, that's why I saw a documentary, and they were talking about when the first people that came over, it was all about Christianity. It was all about the Bible. So that's why they came that way, because of the Pope. Yes.
Okay. And the Pope, and as you know, they say the Pope is God on earth. They say that. So he had a lot of power, the Pope did. But see, this is strange. There was no Vatican then. You know when the Vatican was founded? Mussolini tried to make a deal with the Catholics during World War I, and he gave up some land in Italy. See, the Vatican is like Hamtramck. It's probably anything as Hamtramck. A little bit big. But it's a country. They gave it all of its charters and all of its agreements to be a country. And been there. I've been to the Vatican. I've seen that. I've seen it's rich as cream, man. They got some stuff in there that will make your head spin all the way around. And when they talk about that painting on the ceiling, you've never seen anything like it. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm telling you. They got big statues in there. Oh, it's unbelievable. Basilicas, some kind of St. Mary's, something. I don't know. I ain't in that stuff. But England was always hated. And a major opposition against the British control began with the Stamp Act, established by British Parliament on March 2nd, March 22. This is to this date, 1765. Taxation without representation, followed by the Declaratory Act, the Boston Massacre of 1770, and the Boston Tea Party, or the Tea Act, passed by Parliament on May 10th, 1773. All of these wars and fighting went on prior to the Declaration of Independence. On September 5 to October 25 of 1774, 12 colonies, all but Georgia, and we got to talk about that, sent 56 delegates to Philadelphia to participate in the First Continental Congress, 1776. The purpose of the First Continental Congress was to debate and plan a unified response to British policy and action. Now, I must tell you that the 13 colonies that started prior to 1776 was a combination of Europeans and Moors. I got this right. Europeans and Moors. And the colonies were not cities, as you would think. The colonies were corporations that come in here. And if you don't believe it, just look up 13 colonies and then look up 13 corporations and see what they tell you. All of them were corporations that were put on the East Coast. They had agreement with the Moors to come in and set up those corporations. And that's very important because that's how most of the Europeans got up into that Philadelphia, all those 13 colonies that we call them today. Philadelphia, Massachusetts, what else over there? Virginia, Delaware, all of those nations, all of those states that were called the 13 colonies. No, those were 13 corporations. And they were put in here. So when they came in, Britain that was already here said, hey, we want some of that money you bringing in here. Now all this stuff went on way before the United States of America was even founded. Because they're talking about now the Continental Congress, the first Continental Congress was held in, 1774. I'm looking at it. I just read that. But all of that early stuff is shaky. When I say shaky, it's not clear to me. And the more I study, the more I see things that make it clear. But I know for a fact that the country was ran and owned by blacks. But the blacks lived up between the Allegheny Mountains and the Rocky Mountains, from Alaska all the way down to Argentina. They were black. The Europeans came in on the East Coast, and they met Moors on the East Coast. They made agreements and treaties with the Moors on the East Coast. And when Britain saw that happening, which was what we know today as New York, when they saw that happening, they moved in to get some of the money. And they began to put taxes and stamp acts and different things, Boston Tea Party and different Boston Massacre, all those things. Because you know the first casualty of the Boston Massacre was a black dude named Christmas Adams. So their history says he was a Moor. So, hey, I can't argue with none of that. I'm just trying to clarify why I'm in this position today. And as more I understand what went on then, I know what I have to do now in order to free myself. And to free yourself, you must figure out the economic stranglehold they have on us, especially since 1933, when there is no money. How are we still in debt if there's no money? There's an answer. Okay, we'll get into that. They'll push me on that the next second hour, and I can flip into that. But we're talking about a country that's the most powerful country on earth and do not have a true currency. How do they do that? There's no money, nothing but paper. Very interesting. Okay, so when you start reading this U.S. versus USA, or for better purposes, let's call it what it is, they call it the original versus the corporation. We are struggling today, the Moors are struggling today to get back to the original. We're fighting our own people who have these educated minds who were educated into the corporation system, and they don't believe that it even exists, a original corporation. They tell you things that the corporation tells them, such as there's no more Constitution. We don't recognize the Constitution. That's a lie. The Constitution is dormant because of the ignorance of our elite, bourgeois, black intelligentsia, that think they are on the right track by being over on the corporate side, which is known better as the public side. And that's where a lot of this phony money is that keeps us in debt, because they know how to create debt, which creates money. But we'll talk about that in the next hour. So now you've got the republic versus the corporation. And we're jumping through time, but the original side has a true history of progression from 1776 to 1861, when they declared the Civil War. And everything changed after 1861. And everything changed dramatically after 1871, when they literally incorporated Washington, D.C. Okay? Now, if you look up the corporate officers of the United States of America, they got all of it here. You can go find it. United States is a district, the District of Columbia. United States of America is the District of Columbia. However, when they incorporated, you can give different names that you want your corporation to be called. And they'll say things like, our corporation is called United States of America, but any derivative of. So that means United States, U.S., USA, District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. United States of America has googles of names that totally confuses the masses. Because when you mention the names, they all say, well, that's what I'm talking about. But it's not what they're talking about. The only way you can really see it is if they write it down, because if it belongs to the corporation, it's in all capital letters. And if it belongs to the original Constitution, it's in upper and lower caps. Now, you may not, well, I'll keep going. All right? United States permanent government is a foreign corporation with respect to a state. So Michigan is a state, and United States of America, or Washington, D.C., or United States is a foreign country to Michigan, Indiana, Illinois. They united that in 1928, 5 years, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. From 28 to 32, they, in their development under the Geneva Convention, they united the states. And all the states signed up that they wanted to be a part of a unity known as United States. Man, oh man, I just thought about that. But prior to that, they were all states. Michigan, Tennessee, all of those were countries. So, United States...
Is that why I heard on the news yesterday, I think it was Wisconsin, is going for its sovereignty. They want to separate from the United States of America.
And I think the count, you're right, yes. And I think the count today is 21 states have already withdrawn from the United States of America. Because they don't withdraw like Alaska jumped out completely and Hawaii jumped out completely. Those are nations on their own. But what you're talking about are, because we live on the continent, we become sovereign, independent of United States of America. And that's really tricky. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Okay, so just say we're in Michigan and we become sovereign. So that means that we have no connection to Washington, the District of Columbia.
Yes. But now let's differentiate what you just said. Let's differentiate you as Bev from the dirt of Michigan. The dirt of Michigan says it wants to be sovereign away from the United States of America. You have a choice. Now listen carefully. You can stay a 14th Amendment citizen and be a citizen of the United States of America. Or you can say, I'm a ward of the state of Michigan. Or you can say, I'm sovereign. I don't want neither one of you sissies. Both of you are foreign to me.
Right.
And more are saying that. Michigan is foreign to me, and United States District of Columbia is foreign to me. Now that's confusing, but I think I gave it to you where you understand anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to really...
So it's like leaving from one plantation to another. You're leaving from the District of Columbus plantation, the United States of America, and if you go with Michigan, who separated, then you are on their plantation. But you saying that we have to be solvent and separate from both.
Yes, 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 yes. And it's all a mental thing. It's all a mind thing. None of the rules, all the rules and MCLs that you see in Michigan and the laws and regulations of Michigan belong to Michigan citizens. I'm not a Michigan citizen. I'm sovereign. So it does not pertain to me. If I want to say I'm a Michigan citizen, then the laws of Michigan belong to me.
Mm-hmm.
But see, everybody in this country cannot say what Ron Marsh just said because they're not indigenous. My status is indigenous. You got some Negroes that gonna say, well, I don't know what that is. I want to be a Negro, so I'm a Christian, so I'm a Michigander. That's okay, that's your business. That ain't me. I'm not that. I am indigenous. I come out of the land. I was here before Michigan. Michigan was only founded in 1726. We just discussed some areas and territories that went on way before there was a Michigan. So why would I want to join Michigan? Especially with this racist government they have here with Snyder and that punk. Or why would I want to be a part of that? You dig it? But anyone that comes in as an alien, which would be an immigrant, they have to sign papers and become a citizen of the United States of America, who sends them into states to live, and all of that's hooked up. If they start talking like I talk, they'll import them people overnight. They'd be gone. Boom! That's why I told you last week that the immigration laws or the rights of immigration, you have to be a upstanding immigrant for 5 years. My last number was 5 years. Somebody called and said it was 10, but my number was 5. You got to be an upright citizen for 5 years before you qualify for citizenship of the United States of America. Back in the day of George Washington, the European was so rowdy, it took 14 years for it was the highest number that I saw was 14 years of good behavior in order to even apply for citizenship. You dig it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, all the people that don't look like you have papers to get in here. All of them. You and I are the only ones that don't have papers. Nobody asks for papers. Why is that? If we come over on the ship, we should have some papers to show we got off the ship.
Right.
Okay? Say the Europeans say they come over on the ship, they got to go through the Statue of Liberty. They're giving paperwork to come into this country. And if they violate a law, they send their butt back where they come from. You ain't heard of deporting no black kids back to Africa. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what the hell is going on here? We don't have papers. We ain't never had papers. None of our people have papers because we've been here all the time. We got to get that in our head. So none of this trash belongs to us. We have been indoctrinated by brainwashed to think we're part of this bullcrap. And it's killing us to strive to be a part of it. It's killing us. And we're dying today because we're trying to be good Americans. That's the damnest thing in the world. Ain't no such thing as a black good American. That's an idiot. Shoot him on sight. All right, I'll be nice. I'm going to be nice. Okay. Okay. Now, in 1775, the Second Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia. That's where I want to go next. Delegates from 13 colonies were present. After signing the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, and winning the Revolutionary War, this is all lies, which ended with the Paris Agreement, peace agreement. Now, that's a real good treaty that everyone should look up. It's called the Paris Peace Treaty. See, when the Europeans found out that they could not beat us, we never lost a war. They will always come up with a treaty. That's why there's so many treaties. Because the European always wanted to have a treaty so he could circumvent the treaty. He couldn't beat us in war. He couldn't beat us in bloodshed. That's why he's so afraid of us now. He does not want us to know who we really are, because we can sustain his power. Because they've been trying to kill us ever since we've been here. If it wasn't alcohol, it was drugs. If it wasn't drugs, it was the Vietnam War, all black is on Front Street, all that kind of stuff. They've been trying to wipe us out for a long time. So that Paris Peace Treaty is what they used to stop the Revolutionary War. And it was signed by King George, who parted with the Northwest Territory. We live in the Northwest Territory. He had to give up the Northwest Territory there in order for them to stop the Revolutionary War, which was unsettled. That means that the European was not there. When they settle something, that means the European has the right to walk in there and steal and loot. But the Northwest Territory, where we live today, which is 5 states, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, 5 states, and a third of Minnesota. All of that was one territory known as the Northwest Territory. And it is rich with history. Chief Pontiac come out of that area.
Okay.
Custer with his lying, cheating, dirty. Oh. He come from Monroe, Michigan, and was sent in here as a general to kill the natives. They told him and other generals and colonels, don't take them prisoners, don't run them off the land, kill them. Because we don't want to go to court because we could never win because the land has never been settled. Which means they don't have a treaty to get in here. That's heavy stuff. So they call any land that the Europeans not wanted unsettled and was not colonized. Another word they use that they could get in on. They colonized the land. The Northwest Ordinance was set in place in July of 1887 to govern the territory until such a time the territory became states united with the initial 13. So they had to figure out how they could settle, colonize, steal, loot, murder, take the Northwest Territory and make it into states that would unite back with the 13 colonies. That's what heavy stuff. That is very important because you need to know how did they do that. They did it through wars and peace treaties. Woo! Here's a big one here. At the revolution, the sovereignty devolved on the people. Yep. And they are truly the sovereigns of the country. The people are the sovereigns, not the state, the people. But they are sovereigns without subjects. They have more to govern but themselves. They have none to govern but themselves. That's why it was so pure. So they govern themselves. The citizens of America are equal as fellow citizens and as joint tenants in the sovereignty. Sovereignty is the right to govern. A nation or state sovereign is a person or persons, oh, it's so heavy, in whom that resides. That resides. So each person is a nation.
Oh, each person is a nation.
Yes, because you're sovereign to govern yourself, and you're responsible for your own shortcomings or your own responsibility. You are your own responsibility. Now you can unite through articles of confederation with other nations, or you can take your family and create a larger nation. That's what they did. And each nation is a country in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the top dog is one that governs the nation. He can make agreements and treaties with other nations in order to survive.
So just say that everybody on the west side of Detroit came together, and each person came together, and they became a nation. And this say that everybody on the south side of Chicago came together, and they became a nation. So the nation and the people in Detroit can connect with the people in Chicago, and they can form a nation together.
Yes,
but
the way you said that would cause a mass confusion, because you left out that the nation started with one person. It would be you. If you be the mother of the nation. Now, if you get married, that person you married would want to be a part of your nation. So that's two. And that two becomes one. Now you have children. All of your children become a part of the nation. But each child is his own nation. But he's governed by the mother of the nation, which is you. Now, if you want to travel to Chicago and meet Cousin Fred, if you think Cousin Fred is cool, and y'all can come up with some type of agreement to get along, Cousin Fred got to go back to his nation and talk to all of his subjects in there, because he knows he want to do it, but he got to make sure everybody else in it, and then he comes back to you and says, yes, we can do this. So now you unite, and you went from one person to the family of Beverly. Now you got 10,000 people, not 10 million. 200 people, because they all come together. And you are responsible for your side, and he's responsible for his side. So if anybody gets out of line by any way, it's up to you to tell him that Josephine down there is doing some stuff ain't too cool, and he has to check that out. That's why there was so much peace. But the way you said it, it would create chaos. But I don't want to join with everybody on the north side of Detroit. I don't know these people.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Is that how it's set up? Similar with the Washita Nation, and they have the lady that's in charge.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we all are learning what I just told you. A lot of them don't want to learn it because they're out there trying to do their own thing. Because her sons even went out and did some dirty stuff with the Nigerians because they wanted to make some good money. And she refused to even acknowledge them. And that was a big hassle, big old hassle. I don't need to go into detail, but anybody that's a Moor or Washita Moor know what happened when she told them no.
Now, are you familiar with the United Nations Agenda 21?
Not by name. What is it about?
Oh, okay. Well, no, someone in the chat room was saying we have another big problem, and that's the United Nations Agenda 21.
Maybe you can ask them, answer that, and give us a little more detail on that. I don't know.
Well,
I know
we could go ahead.
I know there's been some see, everything that I'm teaching, I'm a senior. So everybody needs to hear this so it can be passed on and everybody keeps understanding what we have to do in order to get free. Unification, the way that they're putting it in the books and putting it out, it'll never work. We got to unite. I don't know these people. We got to do it on our own first. We got to face our own creator and become pure at heart. Then you begin to grow into these unification or these so-called confederations. You dig it? It takes time, trust, and everything to do that. Now, there's people out there trying to do it in other ways. I have no idea what this 21 thing is, but I have read and heard that they're trying to do certain things, but it's difficult for it to work because we are a unique people. Beth, every country on earth has a treaty with the Moors. No other country can say that. No other nationality can say that. And that treaty is called Treaty of Peace and Friendship. We're the only ones that understand peace and friendship. Europeans, look at this conduct. How can you understand peace and friendship and drop the atomic bomb on non-whites in World War II? Who ever heard such man? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's just one of the devilmen. They went in there and killed Gaddafi. They went in and killed Saddam Hussein. All of that kind of stuff. I'm just naming some off the top of my head. They destroyed governments all over the country. How do they know about peace and friendship? How do they know even call themselves civilized? Civilized people don't do that. So in the beginning, if you did not have a treaty of peace and friendship, you were known as an outsider. You were known as an enemy, and they would shoot you on sight. Woo! All right, Bev, I got to take a break.
Okay.
Okay. Let me make one comment.
Now, before we get started, Ron, give the people your email again.
Okay. I want to start using Ron March Show. Ron March Show at yahoo.com. Ron March Show at yahoo.com.
Okay.
I'm having trouble with the other, my other email address. I'm having trouble. So let's stay with Ron March Show. Ron March Show at yahoo.com.
Are you still giving your classes?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Ron March Show. What you're looking at now, 6 p.m. next Tuesday, also Wednesday at 6 p.m. and Saturday coming up at 4 p.m. Hope I gave that right.
Now you say you'll be where at Tuesday now?
I'll be on in
air.
Highland Park. My classes are held in Highland Park on Tuesdays on Woodward Avenue, 12511 Woodward. 12511 Woodward at Nandy's Knowledgeable Restaurant Bookstore.
Okay.
Yep, Nandy's, N-A-N-D-I. Nandy's Knowledgeable Restaurant Bookstore on Woodward. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Let me do a big jump in time. But before I do, I want to leave some very important information that will help me jump through time. When the United States of America was founded in 1871, it was a corporation, but there were no subjects. Let's listen carefully. There were no subjects. It was an empty corporation known as United States of America. When they passed when they created the 14th Amendment, which was never passed. You cannot pass any amendment after 1861 because there was no legal government. So what they did, they created a 14th Amendment. They created several since then. But the 14th Amendment was created only to give United States of America subjects. That's important, very important. All of that is de facto. All of that is fictitious. So they said that Christians, Negroes, coloreds, blacks, all immigrants, all aliens, all inhabitants of this continental United States were subjects of the 14th Amendment, which belonged to Washington, D.C. So overnight, can you visualize what I'm saying, Ben? Overnight, they created millions of citizens with pens, all by design. You get that, Ben?
Right, I got it.
All right. Now, there was a need, since that government had no monies, there was a need to try and create some type of monies between 1871 and 1933 or 1928. They could not create any monies. So what had to happen, the remaining Moors that were in place and the United States original government that was in place took all of the resources away from the fictitious government known as United States of America. And there was nothing they could do about it. And I don't know exactly how that went down, but I definitely know that the cowboy movies of Jesse James and Frank James and the whatchamacallit brothers, all of those crooks that was robbing Wells Fargo, those were true stories. And they were robbing the gold. They were stealing the gold. Those crooks worked for United States of America.
Yeah.
You can visualize it. Just think about it. They never caught us because they worked for the government, the new government, and their job was to steal the gold. They knew they could not use the gold because it did not belong to them. So from 1928 to 1933, they created a program. And they called that program the New Deal. And in that New Deal, they had a redemption program that actually created money. Oh, it's so deep that, you don't really have to go through a whole lot of madness to understand it. But there was lawful money, and then there is legal money. You listeners and viewers out there have nothing but legal money. There's no ounce of truth to the monies you have in your pocket. You could really call it, what's that? I call it polyandy. If I said they never heard of polyandy. Monopoly. Call it monopoly money. Fiat. It's called fiat currency. Okay? So let's go back to the U.S. versus USA. You go down, you'll see it. It says lawful money, silver coins, silver dollars. A standard unit of value contains 90% silver. Gold coins contain 90% gold. Spanish meal dollar, called the real dollar, and its fractional parts such as the medio, half real. Then the warehouse receipts of certificates of redeemable in gold or silver, such as silver certificates and gold certificates, are not in itself money, but it is an exchange for a specific amount of lawful monies. Some of you have seen lawful monies. The last lawful monies went out of circulation in 1976 under the Richard Nixon regime. They took all the certificates, the silver certificate dollar and the silver certificate $5, they took all that out of circulation. They created what we know today as fiat money. The Federal Reserve note, bonds, other notes, evidence of debt, tokens, clad coinage having no inherent asset value, a unit of debt in a classless society, electronic banking. All of that is phony money. The first coins issued, going back to the real money, lawful. The first coin issued by authority of the United States were the Fuji cents. I never heard of that before my time. That was back in 1787. Over on the other side, they created the coins. They could not eliminate the coin. So the only true funds in America today is coins. Nickels, dimes, quarters, 50 cents. But you very seldom use that to pay a debt because it's too cumbersome to do so. So they created this fiat money. It was issued by the Federal Reserve Bank, a private corporation. It has nothing to do with anybody's government. Yes, ma'am.
Back in 1933, this is before that, we had, our money was backed by gold and silver, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes. And then during that time, that's when I think it was Roosevelt.
Yeah.
He gave this executive order, right? That everybody had to turn in their money, their gold and their silver.
Yes.
And this is when they created the Federal Reserve, this new corporation.
Well, the Federal Reserve was created 20 years earlier. All of this, try to keep in mind. No, in the United States. Try to keep this in mind that all of this that we're talking about was on paper way back in 1663. It was on paper. It's all by design. It's coming forward. The Rothschilds and all of those rich families, the Rothschilds were the ones that were the richest during that time. They had all this set up. All of it was set up. It just took a timetable for it to be put in place. So the Federal Reserve was set up in 1913. It's owned by foreign bankers and investors. Federal Reserve has nothing to do with government. So that green thing you got in your pocket has nothing to do with anything but paper. You believe that it's money because of the monopoly type game that is played. And the respect you get out of those green things, you believe is real money. It's not. It's only a piece of paper. And it's called a note. A note is a debt. Car note, house note, table note. All of these are debts. A Federal Reserve note. The Federal Reserve was set up as it is today to keep track of the debt. You got it?
You got it.
All right. Federal Reserve is a continuation of the English crown of England. The Federal Reserve set up, it was put in here, in place. Remember I told you, when they founded the so-called Washington, D.C., all of that was funded by the international bankers. What we're going through is not a fly-by-night operation. This is a planned scheme to steal our land. Keep that in mind. The land belongs to us, black people. And all of this was set up to make you give it to them and let them live here in peace. So between Christianity, love thy neighbor, and the benefits and privileges they give you, you let them live here in peace. And they're the most ruthless individuals on the face of the earth. Unbelievable. But it has worked. So far, it has worked. Okay? I'm not going to go through this entire piece on this, but I'll tell you this. You were taught in school that the dollar was an S, just saw it, an S with 2 bars going through it. Was defined by law, Act of April 1792. They had set up what a dollar was. 371.5 grains of pure silver, which was the amount contained in a $1 silver coin. All of this was set up. When they came back and made this new stuff, even the coins are phony. But the coins have relevance because the coins are in the Constitution. Are you there, Beth?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I heard a buzz. I thought it was gone. Yep. So, if I was near any one of your listeners at this time, and I asked them how many bars is on a dollar bill, they'll probably tell me it's 2. And I'll tell them, when you was born, there was never 2. There was always 1. It stopped in 1972. It stopped. 1976. The 2 bars disappeared and it came back with 1 bar. So now you have to ask, what does the 1 bar represent that the 2 bar does not, or vice versa? 2 bars is real, 1 bar is phony, known as fiat. Now, you live in a government that's fictitious. You live in a society that is murdering you, literally murdering you. They're taxing you to death. You need to study economics to figure out how can we get out of this. Everything that's happened to us today, as of today's date, believe it or not, we ask for it. Beth, you hear me, Beth?
Yeah, so we did.
Everything that's happened today, we have asked for it. And I can prove it by your prison. 99.9% of all prisoners agreed to go to jail through a program that they invented called plea bargain.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that have been riding with us, this is my granddaddy. Hey, like you say, this is my Granddaddy March here. Definitely dropping the knowledge. Those of you that are in civics, I need you to really get the gist of what we're doing, and one of the reasons why we are officially back into arbitration mode. Those of you that are actually joined the community, you know exactly where we are, how we all got started. Those of you that have been with us for a while, you understand the importance of tribunals and the arbitration committee. Paige, which is the private attorney generals, executors, we've been doing hearings, for the last 6 years. And I kind of stepped out of that environment to kind of bring forth a certain level of education for a certain group of individuals, because it was imperative that they understood this. Keep in mind, the powers that be do not like when you start spreading this type of information to conscious individuals, because those that are in a certain position will actually become very acclimated in what he or she needs to do. I'll tell you a story that I'm going to just leave out certain parts of it, but I'll give it to you. Me and another student, one of my older students, were actually participating in a structure, and we were actually dealing with the Department of Public, the Bureau of Public Debt. And when I tell you, the public at that time, there was only a few individuals that really knew how the Bureau of Public Debt really worked. And so I want you to understand the magnitude of it. They changed their name, and they still function today, but they go by a different name. But they still right there in plain sight, because they take care of the public debt. You just got to understand how these things go together. It's weird out. Everybody can all talk about athletes and so forth in the black card, but they don't understand that if they're giving you something that's perpetuating your own treachery, they're testing you to see whether you're going to sell your birthright for a few pieces of silver. It's ironic that many people profess to be consciously conscious, they spiritually conscious, rocking on a high frequency, will sell their soul, so to speak, for a few pieces of silver. And then it's amazing that these same individuals, when they're asked to be accountable for what they have to do, they're definitely afraid of being accountable. So one tends to wonder, what this information is really to be utilized for. Let me give you a hint. The Truth in Lending, the Truth in Lending Act, the TILA, Truth in Lending Act, is your saving grace, because it gives you ability to bring into question everything that's in commerce. And then as a fiduciary, if you understand Open Circular 10, you understand, what we call Open Circular is actually Operating Circular 10. You actually understand Operating Circular 9. And Operating Circular 9, which came before 10, tells you exactly where you need to be in what we call Article 9 transactions or security interest. And it's all predicated upon understanding that you have a treaty that's the world's oldest unbroken treaty, if you're under that pedigree. If you're under that particular pedigree, then you're able to be known as the last civilized name that you was known as in commerce. So if you're going to utilize that name, then you're going to have to carry on that attribute. If you want to carry on the name of your slave master and things of that sort, that's totally up to you. Matters not to me. It's just that I understand that ignorance of the law is no excuse. The law protects the one that's been deceived, not the one doing the deceiving. But there's also legal maxims that say he who has been deceived, let him. See, ignorance is not bliss. You're either worthy to learn or worthy to serve. And these are all things that did not come outside of who you are. These are all things that you gave to the world, to the planet. So be not amazed if you see someone of authority, because they may be there by default. Moors, be very careful, because you may be the closest thing to God that other people may get a chance to see. See, commerce is the unifier, and even the elite has been misled. You have to totally come to a consciousness of exactly how all these things kind of play together. And see, this information is inspiring. These are exciting times to be alive. This is the best time for you to be held, to stand in accountability. I've actually watching a little over 500,000 individuals who will be impacted by this structure. Yet it's only going to be talked about in certain circles like this forum that you're listening to right now. I can't promise you how long this content is going to stay up in what they call the YouTube spectrum, because I've been getting warnings saying that the information is too sensitive. I've been getting a lot of warnings. So I hope that you use this time wisely, because while we're doing arbitrations, hearings, and tribunals, this gives you the ability to bring forth your issues, your grievances, your redresses, and learn the process that's going to help you perpetuate and reestablish your estate. And we were actually walking a large multitude in what you're actually hearing and seeing. See, we can't keep going into the public giving our playbook either, if y'all ain't figured it out yet. Again, for those of you that are waiting on these 8302 returns and don't know that their treasury, they're dealing directly with TT&L accounts. And if you've forgotten about that, I suggest you definitely do some homework. I'm working with FASB, not because I want to work with these guys, but because I have to stand in this gap to keep everybody protected. So it's like me, like Samson, holding up, this great cathedral wall so everyone can get a chance to escape. See, the old system must go. The greater always has influence over the lesser. And the private community is not waiting for everybody to figure it out, And so there's actions that need to be taken. CECL is not something new. It's been around since 2014. 2017, it was actually brought into effect. In 2019, that was the last day of procrastination. So it's official now. It is in the mix. So if you are not doing your substantiation before you do transactions, you are already heaping coals on your head. Don't you know every Federal Reserve note that you deal with, that you will into existence, is being tracked? Don't you think it's attached to you? It's like, how can it be attached to me? Very simple. If you got a bank account, chances are you had to give them some sort of identifying information. Now, if you were smart enough to use a TT&L to establish that, then you truly are dealing with lawful legal money. But chances are you didn't substantiate, so you gave it the social. Didn't the Social Security Administration say don't give that number to anyone? But you gave it to the bank anyway. I know it's what they told you, it's what everybody's got to do. Not everybody, just you. The uninformed. You have to do it. Because you don't know any better. That's why we got to insure you against yourself, because you don't know any better. You think George Washington's the first president. Ignorance of it is no excuse, but the truth is the truth. You have no clue. You think money is Federal Reserve notes when it's a debt note. And you'll say stuff like oxymorons like, I will be glad when I can save up some money so I can get out of debt. You don't make enough to save because you're not paying yourself first. And if you're getting out of debt, you're getting out of money. So that's what it sounds like to a knowledgeable individual in the aspect of what we're talking about. What we say is emotionally correct, commercially wrong. That's what it sounds like to my colleagues who are conscious. Girl, I'll be glad when I get out of debt so I can save some money. Okay. And how do you intend on doing that? Because all your great philosophies, it don't require, if it is not rooted in control. I'm just saying, I'm laughing not at you but with you, because we're going to rise where we fail. We're already doing it. When I stepped out of the private community to inform individuals, I was laughed at by my community because it was like, Bazell, why are you even bothering talking to individuals who don't have anything worth saving? You know, they're comfortable with being where they at. You know, it's like a prisoner, two prisoners talking about they can leave the prison whenever they want, they just don't want to. You know, and they're trying to convince you that they, you know, they can go home when they want to, but it's okay, you know, and, you know, this, that, and that. It's like, wow, you got to have a real miserable life to want to be held captive than to be free. It's a natural reaction for every slave to want to be free. But it's almost like the Morgan Freeman syndrome in Shawshank Redemption, where he was locked up for so long that when he was actually let out, the world had changed so much, he felt more comfortable in the prison. Because that's all he knew. And a lot of you, all you've known is debt. You've never known the ability of dealing in real money. It's a condition. It is infectious and it is cancerous, though. And it is fatal. A lot of the remedies that have come your way, the reason why a lot of you haven't grabbed a lot of them is because you're in your own way. You are trying to make this system give you something when you are the source of the system. You are the one that give this system its energy. You know, y'all remember, if y'all watched the movie The Matrix, you know, the whole thesis behind it is that you're being used as a resource. You're a battery. You are the source. You're the battery. You're the energy. They have to keep you in a dreamlike state and sap all of your energy out. Keep you in a dream world where you're thinking you're doing all these things and you're just sitting there rotting away, giving your energy, your mind, your creativity. For what? For paper. So you can be reduced to a battery. I simply say that if you study yourself, and when you think you got it, you've had it. So never think you know everything. Learn that there's more to learn. Then you'll start to see that the glass is not half empty, but it's half full. The world is a world of abundance. You got the ability to will into existence the reality that you want. You got to speak positiveness into the existence. Just like how you can dwell on things that are negative, you can actually use that same power to will the things in your life that's necessary. The information that you're seeking. It'll come if you're ready for it. My time is very short with a lot of things that's going on, only because I've deduced a lot of these things that I'm telling you to writings, to publications. Therefore, when my time is done, others will be able to carry on the work. Because we started this journey to bring forth an opportunity. And I see the torch being passed to those that are ready to take this to the next level. See, some of you guys are going to do some of the things that I can't do. I can only reach the ones that are reachable, the ones that are teachable, coachable, so forth and so on. You know, we got a whole lot of things to do. And I'm at a place where I want to really give to those that are really ready to receive. I've been purposely holding myself back, trying to give everybody a chance to catch up. But time sits still for no one. So, preferably, the treasury, the tax and treasury and loan accounts that we're talking about are really old news, because if the institutions don't have them, you are the reality that everybody needs to see. because you have the capability. You've been given enough information, you ain't figured it out yet, where I've made it applicable to those that are CECL compliant, the opportunity to be tax collectors and not debtors. The choice is yours how you proceed. The choice is yours on how you achieve the reality that you want to see. The choice is yours on how you move. We are bringing more resources and personnel and people in these private spaces that are ready to assist. But they can only assist those that are conscious and competent. See, I have purposely placed 52 individuals in a holding pattern because I want my trustees to be able to facilitate. Like I say, FASB is just one of them. I was brought into this space with the Financial Accounting Standard Board to provide a remedy and a resource for certain individuals because it's needed. But like I said, my time is short. In comparison to the overall, see, I'm going to constantly be here. But remember, I came from a private space because actions were already being taken. You know, the powers that be did not appreciate the fact that I was talking in certain circles of proprietary processes with those that I later found out was taking advantage of it. They were. That's the truth. I have nothing to hide. But I've learned from that, you know, because we all make mistakes. Key to it is you don't try to make the same mistakes. So I hope that you're using this forum in the best of your ability, and I hope this has made a lot of sense to you. I'm not done. I'm just getting warmed up. Just got powered up. Just got some more, you know, go juice, so to speak. So we finna turn all the way up, family. So this will conclude Accounting and Accountability Part 2. Next up to bat is going to be Accounting and Accountability Part 3. And if you're loving what you hear, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're just getting started. Stay tuned. You can actually, if you're logged into this particular component, we're going to actually do Part 3 on our actual radio broadcast. And if time permits, I will actually, you know, bring in more physical content that you can enjoy, see, and so forth. So with that, we say peace and love. Peace and love, family. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back before I jump off to see if anybody told you to ask questions. Ask questions. If you got them. You know, let me see. I just want to make sure. I know a lot of folks say, well, Bezel, we want to get more information. I was like, well, you know, I'll give it to you as long as you're ready to get it. But I just want to make sure. Okay, with that being said, we'll be definitely be jumping back into Part 3 of Accounting and Accountability, which I will actually air on 365 Live, and then if time permits, I'll actually crank the video back up if time permits. We appreciate everybody's hard work. I'm going to let you ride out to actually my mentor, Ron March. Matter of fact, it is what it is. Stay tuned, family, because without you guys, it would not be no us. Peace and love.